So as you know, there's a big election going on in California, the recall one with Gavin Newsom. The polls have it very tight, and there's a lot of analysis that we want to be able to bring all of you. We found the right person, Gustavo Arellano. He writes for the LA Times. Now, Gustavo, you wrote a column which caught both of our eye. Let's put it up there on the screen. Sorry, Democrats, Latino anger towards Republicans isn't enough to save Newsom's political hide. Tell us about what you were trying to get across in that column and how you see the election generally.
The one group that has always been more apt to support the recall than not so far in polls have been Latinos, which has shocked people because, of course, Latinos are the largest ethnic group in California. Latinos have been supposedly solidly Democrat for the past 25 years, ever since the GOP in the 90s waged a scorched earth xenophobic campaign against Latinos to be able to win any sort of elections. So people have been shocked again and again. And the reason I did this is don't be shocked. There's very legitimate reasons. I don't agree with them, by the way. I'm totally against the recall, but there's very legitimate reasons as to why Latinos are going to be in favor of the recall. The last poll showed that Latinos are a majority of likely Latino voters are supporting the recall.
And what do you think those reasons are? And by the way, I think the fact that you are on the other side of this debate, I think that gives you credibility, that you're saying, look, this is not my thing, but I understand where people are coming from here, and this is something that Democrats really need to pay attention to.
Yeah, tell that to the Democrats who absolutely despise my column, especially especially white liberals of all people who just despise the column. But there's a couple of reasons I mentioned in my column. You have, for one, Latinos were just destroyed, probably more than any other ethnic group in California by the pandemic. We're frontline workers, we're small business owners, we're also a lot of the people who passed away. So I thought Gavin did as good a job as possible as he did for the most part with the pandemic, except of course with the non-wearing of the mask at the French Laundry. So all voters are going to say, what have you done for me lately? And so far now, we are going back to mask mandates. Everyone's expecting the state to shut down in a couple of weeks if the Delta variant continues. And also, though, all Gavin has at this point is saying, I'm not Larry Elder. Larry Elder is evil. Therefore, vote for me, or vote against the recall. No one wants to hear that. Especially, this has been a campaign a strategy that has worked for the Democrats for 25 years. We're not the GOP. The GOP hates you, Latinos. Is not working anymore. And we saw this not work with Trump gaining in Latino numbers in the 2020 election.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Gustavo. We've tracked this phenomenon with our friend Chuck Rocha as well, who's been saying you cannot take advantage of Latino votes. Do you think that is going to come to roost? I mean, I think your point there about the lockdown, about how Latino workers in particular disproportionately more likely to be affected by some of these policies, plus the expectations of pandemic restriction. Do you think that is what is motivating people? I mean, what are some of the other issues that are salient in the campaign? Because, where we are here in Washington, there is not as much of attention on this race, which I do really believe could be, a seismic event if Gavin Newsom is recalled.
Oh, my Lord. It'll be the political blunder of the millennium, the short millennium so far. The fact that Newsom, and I called this, by the way, I said in early March, before the recall even became official, I said Newsom will win or Newsom will not be recalled if everything goes hunky-dory. Well, you have wildfires in California, you have the pandemic, you have the state of angst that he has never really been able to solve because the pandemic hasn't allowed him. And this is the other thing with Newsom. No one really likes him. Let's be honest. No, Democratic politicians have to like him because he's the governor and he might have a small base. But Latinos, he's never resonated with Latinos the way, say, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, Chuck, of course, Chuck was smart. Mm-hmm. No one wants to listen to Chuck. So if you don't have a politician that's going to motivate you to try to save your hide, then they're not just going to come out. And also, and I cannot overestimate or oversell this idea that there's a lot. And I've been trying to formulate this idea of the Rancho Libertarian. A lot of my cousins, a lot of young Latino males, they don't care. They care more for Joe Rogan than they do for Gavin Newsom. And they're not necessarily like arch conservatives or anything. They just grew up with parents who did it their way. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So you hear someone like Newsom just throw all sorts of stuff through the government at them. It's not gonna impress them one bit.
Mm.
So right now, as we speak, it's pretty much a jump ball. And I always think it's worth going through a little bit of the process for people who maybe haven't been following it that closely. So there'll be basically 2 questions that are asked to California voters. Number 1, do you support recalling Gavin Newsom? And if more than 50% say yes, then it goes on to the second question. Okay, well, who do you want to replace him with? And there's, a whole list of people. The top contender right now appears to be a conservative radio host named Larry Elder. So there's a bizarre set of circumstances where Newsom's approval rating is actually fairly good. It's above water, but the people who are most motivated to come out and vote in the recall are the ones who are motivated to vote for the recall and vote to get him out of office. So do you think it's possible that at the end of this campaign, as people actually realize, like, oh, this is real, this guy could actually lose, that's going to motivate more people to go out to the polls? Or do you think that some of the apathy is just kind of baked in at this point?
The apathy is baked in, melted, whatever food metaphor you want to use, it's right there. And that's why what you're seeing is the Democrats definitely saying, look, if we have a Republican, we have Larry Elder of all people being the governor of California, the progressive dream is gone. It's doomed. So it's a total scorched earth apocalypse campaign. But you're also seeing that now with Republicans. The number 2 person right now, Kevin Faulconer, the former mayor of San Diego, he's called on Larry Elder to resign for his past statements about women, about minorities, saying California, I forgot what the quote was, but something to the effect that California is not going to replace one ineffectual governor with another one. But those are the voters. I mean, people forget, as for all the stereotypes of being for California being a deep blue state, which it totally is, we still have since we're so huge, we still have a huge Republican GOP, voting base, in many ways bigger than some of the deep red states that we have. So if all those people go out and vote, and they are, because they absolutely despise Newsom. If Democrats don't like him, Republicans despise him. If you have apathy from the Democratic side, then Newsom is toast. So the people who are going to influence this election, the trigger, so to speak, are going to be Latinos. And what's interesting, if it's likely voters, then Newsom wants Latinos out, because Newsom wants that apathy. But if Latinos finally come to their senses and say, you know what, we do not want Elder, and Newsom, screw him, but better Newsom than someone else, then Latinos will turn the election towards Newsom. But that's the big if. And so far, the polls have shown, again, starting from March, it was about 37% Latino likely voters supporting the recall. The last one, I believe it was by CBS, it was about 51%. We'll see. The next poll should be coming out next week. It's picking up.
Yeah, that is absolutely stunning. Gustavo, can you explain something to me? I've seen some criticism of Gavin Newsom's recall strategy here, which is that vote no, but also leave the next blank, leave the recall who you want blank. I've seen Nate Silver and others point out this actually could screw him over and lead to his actual recall. Now, once again, you're our California expert. What the hell is going on there? I'm a bit confused.
So this goes back to the 2003 recall of Gray Davis. What Democrats feel, and I disagree, by the way, was that Gray Davis, a very, very unpopular governor back then, total technocrat, boring. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, jumps into the race, destroys everyone. So the thinking, though, was that the reason the Democrats lost was because you had the lieutenant governor at the time, Cruz Bustamante, a Latino, be on that recall petition. That's when we had 133 candidates as opposed to the 47 now. So the thinking was that, okay, people thought that by voting for Bustamante and voting yes on the recall, you saved the seat. That didn't happen. I would argue Schwarzenegger was a political phenomenon, cultural phenomenon back then. He's not the Schwarzenegger of today. People forget Terminator 2 and all that. And so this time around, the Democrats, that's been their strategy. Okay, well, in 2003, having a high-profile Democrat there is going to screw us over. This time we can't do that as well. But now, no, the opposite has happened. There is no viable Democrat. There's some YouTube personality. You guys are younger than me, so you'll know who he is, Heaven something or other.
Yes.
But other than that, there is no viable Democrat at all. If you had a former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, that to me it served as insurance, just in case people did want to recall Newsom. At least, hey, because we have many Democrat voters, they'll go for Villaraigosa, someone else. But there is no option at all, and Newsom is still trying to push that. Again, if that happens, oh my God, you want to talk about hubris and arrogance? That was that right there.
So, as I read it, this is probably the better strategy for Newsom. Because if you back someone like a credible Democrat. If you back them, then it's sending the signal of like, I think I'm going to lose. And by the way, here's a decent option that you could opt for instead. In terms of the Democratic Party, it seems to me like the much better option is to have a little insurance policy there that, if Newsom is ultimately recalled, that people could fall back to. So you don't end up with someone like Larry Elder becoming governor with 25% support of the voting public. But last question for you is, I just really want you to lay out for people why it is incredibly possible that Newsom could be recalled and that you could end up with someone who frankly has views that are really wildly at odds with most of the California public serving as governor of that state, because it seems like such an incredibly implausible outcome. Just help people understand that, look, this is not certain whatsoever, but is there a chance that's where we end up? Yeah, there's a chance.
This is unthinkable to most people in California, and especially outsiders like yourself. You're like, what the hell is going on? This is supposed to be California, the bastion of progressive politics against the Trump administration. But no, the fact is we have a recall on the ballot. There's always voter apathy. Newsom just does not have that base to, maybe his policies do, but we're not running on policies. We're running on Newsom. So because and this is the key point, the Democrats never planned for a day like this. So they have no strategy whatsoever. Their big idea right now is running commercials nonstop with Elizabeth Warren. And hey, Elizabeth is awesome, but no one in California outside of Santa Monica or San Francisco cares for Elizabeth Warren. They don't. So, and that just antagonizes and annoys people more and more. So it's a very it's a coin flip right now, as you pointed, or a tip-off, a basketball tip-off. It is a possibility. There's still 3 weeks to go. The recall election is scheduled for September 14th, but the ballots are already coming out because every single California voter is going to have a mail-in ballot. So if you want your progressive paradise to remain in California, if you don't want someone whose politics are out of the 1990s, we're talking about the 1890s with Larry Elder, then you have to go out and vote no on the recall. But a lot of people really, again, I think with Trump, they're like, we survived 4 years of Trump. We can survive about a year and a half of Larry Elder. Be careful what you wish for, because it just might come true.
Wow, it is absolutely crazy. Gustavo, thank you so much, for just breaking all of this down for us. It's been incredibly helpful, and we really appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you. Great to have you.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. You guys can become a premium subscriber today. Link is down there in the description. Just want to say we appreciate, me in particular, all the support from so many of you, the get well messages and all of that. I got a message that somebody had prayed for me at the road. That's like the nicest thing anybody has said. So thank you. Thank you all. I am feeling better. I very much hope, I am very, very, very confident I'll be back in the studio next week. And, I really miss it. Krystal, thanks for bearing with me as well. So thanks, everybody.
Not so bad hanging out in my apartment this week, Saagar. So no worries. Anything for you. Glad you're starting to feel better, and we will see you guys back here on Thursday.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it, you get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.